What are some recent scientific breakthroughs/discoveries that aren't getting enough attention? Microfragmentation, the scientific creation of coral, take up to 25 to 30 years, done in 3 years, helping the ocean and planet survive. Find this link in the video description. Schizophrenia may start in your bone marrow. One guy got cured of schizophrenia by getting a bone marrow transplant. Find this link in the video description. And another guy got schizophrenia from a bone marrow transplant from his schizophrenic brother. Find this link in the video description. Schizophrenia is stored in the bones. The developers put it in a weird place. Pretty recently they started doing tests for an extremely mobile skin grafting machine. It uses a kind of hydrogel out of the patient's own skin and scans the area of the burn, then just print out the skin. There's a good chance there will be a cure for celiac disease within the next 10 years. There's currently an active and ongoing clinical trial where participants with diagnosed celiac are getting infusions that will ultimately reverse the autoimmune response a person with celiac has when they consume gluten. It's still far from complete, but we are closer than we've ever been to curing celiac disease. The clinical trial is taking place in Cleveland, Ohio. I was asked to be a part of it, but unfortunately I just don't have the extra time. If anybody local wants more information, please message me and I can get you in contact with one of the researchers. It would be great if this could lead to cures for other autoimmune disorders. I'd rather not have my body attack my thyroid. Guardant Health's blood test is more effective and ridiculously quicker at detecting some forms of lung cancer than a conventional, more intrusive tissue biopsy. Find this link in the video description. My Job Is Coming came out with a drug that reduces the damage chemotherapy does to the body and helps regenerate blood cells faster, allowing for stronger doses to be administered and treatment schedule to be reduced heavily. This allows doctors to treat cancer more aggressively. Due to this blowing up, I'm not part of research. I just work here. For those that dug through my post history, it's not uncommon for people to get degrees, but work in different fields. The drug is already on the market. No, coffee doesn't actually cure cancer. Disturbingly relevant username. Is it safe to assume that drug he is coming out with is really just caffeine? Research runs on coffee. You can now do an entire hour's worth of MRI scan within 70 seconds because of Swedish researchers who did some coding magic. It'll be super exciting to see this thing roll out across the world in the coming years. As someone who spent about 90 minutes in an MRI this year, this would be great. I don't mind the tight spaces, but they do get very warm. Earlier this month, scientists were able to successfully weld glass and metal together. Find this link in the video description. Using ultrafast on the order of picoseconds, which are such a short unit of time that compared to it, a full second might as well be 30,000 years. Laser pulses. This hasn't been successfully done before due to the very different thermal properties of glass and metal. This is actually a pretty big breakthrough in manufacturing and could lead to stronger yet lighter materials. I'm excited as someone who flies planes. There could be super cool windows and spacecraft with this technology. Is this going to mean better glass or better metal? Yes. One of the more recent theories in psychiatry gaining popularity, although it was acknowledged decades ago, is the role of inflammation in the immune system in mental illness. There are studies showing that in schizophrenia and other psychotic conditions, inflammation attacks the brain. Find this link in the video description. Close bracket. Some of the damage by inflammation might be irreversible, so the hope is that early intervention could prevent chronic schizophrenia. Trials have been attempted with anti-inflammatories like fish oil, with mixed success. The role of inflammation has been extended to multiple mental illnesses, like depression. Find this link in the video description. Closed bracket comma, with raised inflammatory markers and other evidence being a common finding. Ultimately, mental illness is multifactorial, and the causes are often biological, psychological, and/or social, so we can't reduce something so complex and heterogeneous to just an action by the immune system. But it has gained some excitement in the field, because there could be people out there, for example, with schizophrenia for whom one of the primary causes is immune system dysregulation, and researchers are racing to find a prevention. There are a growing group of people with psychosis, typical for people diagnosed with bipolar disorder and schizophrenia, who use low-carb diets to help control symptoms, as well as medication in most cases. My understanding is that this is due to the LCHF diets sticking with foods which reduce inflammation. Maybe another link to look into. Thank you for sharing. Personal anecdote: I knew a person who controlled his bipolar with keto and no meds. Did not work from an outside path. His mania was extremely evident. Seriously, this seems exactly like something somebody with mania would try to do. This should be an entire subreddit. It would rapidly become nothing but clickbait, pseudoscience and pop science bullshit. See r/futurology. They are getting closer to a cure for type 1 diabetes. There's already multiple people who have been cured with no need for insulin 4 years now after a clinical study. That we have figured out how to suck CO2 out of the atmosphere, and now, very recently, how to turn it into solid flakes of carbon again, and not just under highly specific and expensive lab conditions. This process is apparently scalable. Find this link in the video description. We still need to curb emissions, but this does flip the equation quite a bit regarding global warming, allowing us to put some of the toothpaste back into the tube, so to speak. Coupled with wind and solar energy, I predict this will become a major industry by mid-century, and very pure carbon and abundant material. Yes, carbon engineering is running a plant right now that is taking CO2 out of the air and turning it into usable diesel type fuel. And trying it into usable diesel type fuel. Oh, shit. Don't know if anyone has pointed this one out, but pretty certain scientists have discovered a new species of orcas that live in sub-Antarctic waters. They are calling it the type D orca. Pretty cool looking animals. More rounded heads, smaller white eye patches, taller, narrower dorsal fins. Being a soon-to-be marine biology grad, this excites me. Hell yeah, Dorcas. Any breakthrough about your stomach being a second brain makes me happy, be it bacteria, inflammation, etc., causing all the anxiety in your head, and people with IBS having more cases of anxiety/depression. I'm a PhD student in a lab doing gut-brain axis research, and it's crazy to me how few people outside the scientific community know that's even a thing. Trying to explain my research to family is always a nightmare, because I have to start from so there are bacteria in your GI tract, and signals from your gut influence things in your brain, and never manage to work up to what I actually do, because that blows people away. I didn't want to buy an ice cream sandwich at the grocery store, my gut bacteria did. Weirdly enough, it's to be like that. Astronomer here. Most of you have heard that the universe is expanding. Astrophysicists believe there is a relationship between the distance to faraway galaxies and how fast they are moving from us, called the Hubble constant. Find this link in the video description. We use the Hubble constant for just about everything in cosmology. To be honest, this isn't crazy and has been accepted for many decades. What is crazy is, if you are paying attention, it appears the Hubble constant is different depending on what you use to measure it. Specifically, if you use the standard candle stars, Cepheids and type Ia supernovae, to measure how fast galaxies are speeding away from us, you get 73 +/-1 km/s/mpc. If you study the earliest radiation from the universe, the cosmic microwave background, using the Planck satellite, find this link in the video description, you get 67 +/-1 km/s/mpc. This is a lot. And both methods have a lot of confidence in that measurement with no obvious errors. To date, no one has come up with a satisfactory answer for why this might be, and in the past year or so it's actually a bit concerning. If they truly disagree, well, it frankly means there is some new basic physics at play. Exciting stuff. It's just so neat that whenever you think you know how the universe works, it can throw these new curveballs at you from the most unexpected places. This sounds super interesting. Thanks for sharing it. Science can regrow our teeth now. This must be that one weird trick my dentist doesn't want me to know about. The FDA just approved ketamine as an antidepressant for treatment-resistant depression in the form of esketamine as a nasal spray. It's of the few unique and hopeful approaches to treatment-resistant depression that we've seen in years. Some stats put the rate of recovery as high as 80%. Not full recovery, but alleviation at least. Esketamine. I'm sorry. Göbekli Tepe, ruin discovered in Turkey that dates back to 11,000 BCE, or further. This throws a massive wrench into our understanding of what people were capable of at that time, and hints at advanced civilizations having likely existed long before we thought they did. It has also only been about 10% excavated. I've actually read some articles over the past few weeks about archaeologists using LIDAR technology to uncover Mayan ruins, and they found that Mayan civilization was much more extensive than originally assumed. At its height, it's now believed that its population may have numbered near 15 million citizens, and that they engaged in extensive trade with their neighbors to the north and south. These LiDAR scans have revealed evidence of vast cities, farmlands and roadways, and this was all without any pack animals or wheeled carts. Yes, I just finished reading The Lost City of the Monkey God by Douglas Preston. They used LiDAR to detect the location of the ruins before setting out. The parasite that apparently led to the city's downfall, Leishmaniasis, still lives there, and infected many of the crew on the expedition. The parasite that apparently led to the city's downfall, Leishmaniasis, still lives there, and infected many of the crew on the expedition. Well, that sounds terrifying. Hopefully modern medicine has an effective treatment for it. Treatment, yes. However, they can't get rid of it, and if your immune system ever falls, such as with chemotherapy, it returns and does nasty things. Nice. Ancient super parasite. Talk about Montezuma's revenge. Bacteriophage being used to cure diseases, and being able to solve the antibiotic crisis. Given I think Kyrgyz whatever it's called, the YouTube channel that gives people existential crisis, did a vid on it. Find this link in the video description. Video by Kyrgyz for those interested. New cancer therapy in development causing not only the cancer, but also the metastasis to shrink. That's awesome. Got a link. Cause I want to read about it, not cause I doubt you. If the final trials go well, they are predicted to and the previous trials have done, Mdma-assisted psychotherapy will soon be an FDA-approved treatment for PTSD. It is administered in a couple of doses over a few weeks, and has lifelong effects. The group doing this research got FDA breakthrough therapy status for it a few years ago, and have been carrying out the phase 3 trials since early last year. They were doing research into the same thing in Israel and it just got approved for compassionate use for PTSD in Israel this month. Organization is called MAPS, and they do some really interesting work. They are still recruiting people for these trials. Find this link in the video description, if anybody is interested. Also clarified it's Mdma-assisted psychotherapy, that is, psychotherapy and MDMA used together. As well as for PTSD, it'd be excellent if they could find a way for MDMA to be used in therapy for anxiety and depression. As someone who struggles with both, MDMA has been the best thing I've ever tried. If we found a way to safely administer, moderate and use MDMA as means of therapy and treatment, it would be absolutely revolutionary. I would have to say prosthesis. You can get hands and feet that are pretty close to the actual thing, that operate by feeling the muscles that remain. We will soon be long gone from the days of military-style hooks and lumps of solid plastic. Archaeologists have uncovered a site that was formed within minutes of the time the Chicxulub comet hit, proving that it really happened, pretty much as expected, and slaughtered millions of animals immediately through both fire and debris from the sky and an enormous tsunami that ripped through the North American inland sea. This is probably going to remain the find of the 21st century. That's how amazing it is. Find this link in the video description. Paleontologists, actually. Ross vs Ind. 2 more cured from HIV. Holy shit, could we see HIV become a curable disease in a lifetime? Hope so. It isn't just the bee colonies that are dying, it's all our insects. Recent research and predictions are saying that our insect populations, particularly that of butterflies and moths, are on track to extinction in 100 years due to pesticides and climate change. If our insects continue to decline, we will see a cascade flow into other animals, birds etc., including our own species. Environmental scientists are saying we are at the beginning of mass extinction event. Truly terrifying, and very little is leaking to the public via mass media, or being mocked as a conspiracy theory. Find this link in the video description. Well, that's scary. Somebody discovered Alzheimer's might be a reaction to a bacteria. Pretty much all water and food we consume contains microplastics. Cool. Terrifying. Plastic. Casts you can scratch through. I misread this as cats, and was thought there was some new Halo cat type thing that you can put your hand through. That there is a bacteria that can break down plastic very fast. It's interesting, you should look it up. How would it be controlled so that it eats waste and doesn't destroy everything else whole we are still using it? Antibacterial soap, obviously. Skrillex stops mosquitoes from having sex. Find this link in the video description. Memes and jokes aside, so noise pollution could also be to blame for the catastrophic decline in insect populations?